Hi everyone, Ting's here. How's your day? Okay, so today I'd like to share your personal story about growth and adventure. Via sharing a story, I hope it could be helpful for some of you who encounter the similar or the same situation. When I was a freshman, I was first given a task to inform 16 class monitors to attend a school regular meeting. I still remember it was a very hot day and I was running through the main building for 30 times. You have to know that it's 5 floors. And in the end, my feet went numb and my forehead is dripply and I was out of breath, just like now. And with such an effort, my dear audience, could you please have a guess how many people eventually attended this meeting? Okay, less than 1/4. About 50 or less. Can you believe it? I was so frustrated inside and out for not living up to the expectation as a core member of the student association. Staring in the conference room, I feel like even the empty seats were laughing at my failure. That's one of the difficult moments that I have experienced in the first year of my high school, also in the student association. I was overwhelmed by the unfamiliar procedures and the complex everything here because it's completely new to me. And then I just feel like the workload on my shoulders had the weight of the world that has gradually burned out all of my energy and my confidence. Ting, I believe you can walk out of your comfort zone. That's the most frequent insurance words I've received from my friends, from my mentors, from my parents, whenever I encounter these obstacles. However, this time, those words have seemed so pale, since I'll be always questioning, like, what is my comfort zone? And why on earth my comfort zone makes me so uncomfortable? And how could I really work out of my comfort zone? The comfort zone could be the sofa in the living room where people prefer to stay instead of going out and explore the world. For me, in a particular situation, my comfort zone is I was a class monitor before. The scope of my management is only one class. However, when I became a member of the student association, my workload has suddenly increased to a whole grade year, like 20 times more than that. Sometimes in the whole school. The increased responsibility has become the challenge that's laying outside of my comfort zone. Tons of anxiety rushed to me overnight. In addition to very intensive task distribution and unfamiliarity with the environment, I have gradually developed a certain degree of self-doubt and resistance towards work. Whether my previous knowledge and experience as a class monitor before not sufficient enough to fit my current role now? With the realization of the limits of my comfort zone, I was like a deer that got lost in the forest in the dark. I kept running forward, I tried to run so hard, but just to keep hitting various tree trunks, I hurt myself over and over again. That's a panic zone. Just like the name, it wouldn't aim to make you feel happy, of course. Instead, it's paralyzing and frightening, which magnifies the negative emotion and causes invention temptation. It's somehow for people to undergo when they try to make a difference in their daily life, at work, even in their relationships, so on and so forth. In the process of finding a way out, I tried various ways to work out of my comfort zone. I mean, the panic zone, sorry about that. And finally, I found I+1 theory extremely effective. It's a linguistic theory, and I was first introduced to theory by my TOEFL teacher. It reinforced the importance of the connections between the previous knowledge and the new one, and it could effectively accelerate the synthetic of the new concept and information. In other words, I is the knowledge that I already know, and 1 is a new skill set. Together, I+1 is the potential margin the person might achieve. In the terms of a comfort zone, I is my comfort zone, and 1 turns out to be my growth space, the skills I can learn. After my failure of informing those monitors, I began to wonder, how could I build the bridge? How could I make the connections between those two stuff? And I was keeping asking myself the three questions. What do they have in common? Obviously, they're both the assignments that require me to inform people, right? So what's the difference then? Okay, the student association work is much more diverse and complex. The scope of the people I need to inform is much more than that, right? So how could I change my methods to fit my career role now? Just follow these three questions, step by step. I finally made some progress. For example, when I was a class monitor, I really use an oral notice and a written notice. Just like this, and stay in the stage in the front of the classroom and shout to everyone, come on, listen to me, and I'll tell you something. Or just write it down on the blackboard as much as I can. But it doesn't work out when I became the member of the student association. So aside from those methods, I began to use a broadcast. Sometimes we'll even ask help from the head teachers from each classes so that they could help me to inform those monitors. For some very important meetings, I will even require each monitor to write his or her name down so as to ensure the arrival of the information. Sometimes the email notification is a good way for me to do that. This year at the Student Association has witnessed my growth from realizing the limits of my comfort zone to struggling with the discomfort in my panic zone. And finally, I found solutions to work out of my panic zone and my comfort zone. This process is very similar to the metamorphosis of the caterpillar into the butterfly. I believe all of you have heard a basic theory in math. That is, what is the shortest line between 2 points? Straight line, right? Ideally, walking out of the comfort zone and straight into the new space is referred. However, our growth is a curve, it's a constant exploration. It includes the panic zone, the growth zone, to the larger comfort zone. A data from China National Health Changsha shows that 50% of Chinese people have the slightly with a serious mental disorder, which shows that walking out of the comfort zone and growth is not only a topic about teenagers, it's a topic about everyone, regardless of your age. Wherever you are, you're a teacher, you're a student, you're a parent, wherever you are, and it's an internal topic for our life journey. So please, when you're working out of your comfort zone, think about your I, what you already know. Think about your goal and divide them into different ones. Then do it step by step. Try to slow down when you feel that your anxiety and you feel begin to grow in intensity. Because what's really matters is not your pace, but you're working out and expanding your horizon more and more. Most importantly, please to enjoy the process for going up instead of focusing on struggling and suffering. Thank you for listening, and hope my speech could benefit you all.
Thank you. Please get a seat.那给观众们说明一下，现在呢，裁判们在为第一位选手讲完之后呢，做一些记录和点评。那么为了不要忘记所有选手，裁判们会每一位结束，他们会做一些笔记。这样的话呢，方便最后做一个总的比分的时候，他有可以参考的信息来回顾。所以呢，我们在每位选手中间会间隔一点点时间，给裁判留时间去写他们的东西。那么裁判这边准备好，会给我们一个信号，我会让下一位选手上场。 好，我们有请我们第2位高中组原创演讲决赛同学，来自长郡中学国际部的彭雅兰。
Judges, ladies and gentlemen, I am Yalan Hong from Changsha International Department. I want to ask you a question. What do you think about gender inequality? In common sense, when there's marriage coming along, traditions would ask males to own a house or a car to prove that they have sufficient money to build up their own family. I have seen this case in my uncle's family. He works 6 days out of a week. He needs to pay expensive training classes for his son, like English, math, drawing, swimming, a variety of classes. He also takes responsibility for his parents, such as last time when my grandma got eye surgery. He almost paid about 20,000 for that. In addition, he has to provide a comfortable environment for his wife and his mother-in-law, since both of them are jobless. Switched his own apartment into a villa only due to his own efforts, because the rest family members are all without income. Indeed, they live in harmonious relationships, but they could live better if they share the responsibility together. Just think about how much pressure my uncle takes alone. One person bears financial needs of 6 family members. And of course, in current society, females could also get considerable jobs like teachers, accountants, artists, and so on. So, it's irrational to let males bear most financial burden. Moreover, do you realize that actually Chinese respect females a lot? When I am at schools or at my home, males would comparisons for females, and some of them would even obey girls without reason in their relationships. Actually, females have high position in Chinese family. Let men be men, but if they're men, not simply manly. Today, I'll target at gender equality by talking about gender inequality towards males. Gender inequality is true because in our daily life, there are still rules that confine males. Males are assumed to be relatively rich. They need to take huge proportion of financial burden in their family. There's a compulsory and ethical rule for them to provide abundant money for their families. such paying expensive tuition for their children, taking care of healthcare and entertainment costs for their parents, as well as their own living expenses. And none of them are cheap. It is becoming more and more severe because, according to the research results, males have already comprised a large part in suicide population. Moreover, 42% of males in the research said that their major pressure actually comes from financial obligations. Indeed, males could share a relatively huge proportion in financial needs due to their better physical condition, but they should never be overloaded. This can only be dependent on their own willingness and capabilities. Well, gender inequality is not only shown in financial perspective, but also in those personal characters as well as legal rights. Gender inequality is true because on almost all occasions, males are supposed to present a conspicuously masculine style of life and work. People take it for granted that males should wear darker colors of clothes, speak in a lower tone of voice, and show courage and determinations when confronting hardships. Males are also considered to be enduring, perseverant, and never yielding. However, males are also human. They definitely have the right to choose their characters, such as what they wear, how to speak, and how to perform when confronting hardships. So why should males be prejudiced when they're out of norms? Gender inequality is also shown according to the laws, such as sex-related laws. In most instances, they only protect females. Thereby, males cannot disclose themselves as the sufferer of sexual events. Meanwhile, most cultures, governments, and countries still don't allow males to get married with each other. The same for those females. This is a stereotype that sees males as the strong and manly part of our society. Thereby, it would be weird for them to marry each other. In fact, this is very vital because laws is actually the authority of a country and the justice in citizens' mind. Since laws admit this kind of stereotype, the last protection for male citizens is totally empty. Of course, what we can do is not to just change our dreams, being a politician in the future, try to alter the laws or even modify the overlook of our country, which in fact is almost impossible and unrealistic if you don't have the passion and interest in that. What we can do is simple, just to respect individual choices. As we know, morality is one part of the standards that's setting up new laws. As long as we put respect into a common sense and a part of morality, males could both be protected by our respect and those new laws based on public opinions. Let men be men. They're just different from us. They have their respective willingness, and after all, their willingness doesn't hurt any other. We can refuse to live like them, but we cannot refuse them to live as themselves. They can choose to share the equal or relatively huge proportion of financial burden. They could choose to be elegant or manly. They could even choose to be a man or a woman. You may want to challenge me. If you have time to defend for males, why don't you spend more time on defending for your own gender? Well, as my view, there are quite a lot of rights for those weak populations, such as for females, for lesbian children, and for those senior citizens. Actually, males are the most ignored part of our society because they're assumed to be strong. However, if we are aimed at providing a more positive society, males and females should definitely shoulder the responsibility together. Ladies and gentlemen, while we are trying hard to protect those crying women, there's so many middle-aged males that are crying hard from the inner side. Surely they cannot cry aloud and confine their weakness because the stereotype don't allow males to cry. We should give males more understanding. Don't let them be prejudiced when they're out of norms. Thereby, gender equality issue in my speech today will move to a newer standard. Isn't a kid happier when he or she communicates with a less stressed father? Isn't a woman pleasant when she becomes strong, independent, and gets a sense of achievement? Isn't a senior parent insured when his or her son gets a more enjoyable life, while that son was once the adorable and carefree boy in his childhood? One last thing I would like to mention is that, as a male, my father definitely likes this kind of ideas. Then, how about my mother? Actually, as a well-educated and independent woman, she said that she totally agrees with me as well. Thank you so much for listening.
我们感谢彭雅兰同学的精彩演讲。同时，我呼吁一下我们这边的同学啊，刚才演讲的过程中，你们一直在交头接耳，希望你们如果观看比赛的话，表现出对选手的基本的尊重。如果你们不愿意看的话，可以离开这个场地。但是我希望大家既然坐在这边。
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It's my great honor here to give a speech to you. I love sushi. Japanese are so smart to create such delicious food. Soft rice, crispy sea sedge, and lovable sashimi. When they are mixed up, put in your mouth and chew. That must be great. Then here comes the story. One day, I was having sushi with some of my friends. I was so happy that I uploaded some photos on WeChat. A few moments later, I got a message from a patriot. He was really angry, like, "How dare you to eat Japanese food? Japanese are the enemy of Chinese forever. You traitor!" I was annoyed, but also confused. Please calm down. I just hang out for dinner. Have you ever seen this kind of people? According to a recent survey, there are more than 4 billion internet users all over the world. With the rapid development of the internet, a group of people is becoming more and more active on social media. They are always angry and not satisfied with everything they see. They often go to extremes to stick to their own naive opinions and always criticize others without respecting their dignity as a human being. They often argue, yet the argument is not a debate, because even the most intelligent people cannot understand their words and logic. In Chinese, we call this kind of people keyboard men. One would say that we have the liberty of speech, but there are times when words are sharper than knives, as it did in the case of Soli, a singer and actress from Korea. She committed suicide at the age of 25 because of internet violence. She worked so hard to achieve her dream, yet was insulted as a psychopath, an evil woman, only good looks, no talent by people on social media. She must be desperate about this insult. She was mad and killed herself. Keyboard men killed not only Soli, they are nothing but ruthless murderers. Now social media is more like a battlefield or an exclusion ground for the individuals because of them. Isn't it unusual? At this age of internet, technology enables us to get different information from various parts of the world. We should be more tolerant of each other and different opinions. Unfortunately, some internet users are becoming more and more narrow and obstinate. Why? Why can't people just calm down? First, the anonymity of internet. We are invincible behind the screens, which makes it possible for us to say the dirtiest words without taking responsibilities. The most evil thoughts in the deepest place of our mind will break out. Thousands of anxieties will be poured on those who share their thoughts, stories, or even photos online uninhibited. Second, education. According to China Statistical Report on Internet Development, only 9.9% of Chinese internet users have undergraduate and above education. A lot of people are not able to think independently and listen to others politely. The poorer knowledge a man possesses, the more radical and narrow he is, because he's never able to think about the issue in a broader way. Most importantly, the AI algorithm. The AI algorithm will only tell the users what they like and want to hear. That's how social media works. It means that we can only hear the same opinions as ours. The more you use it, the better the algorithm knows about you. In this case, we are no longer free to be tolerant and understanding. We end up insisting on our own values and rejecting others' opinions. It is high time that a change should be made. People need to calm down. Internet is not a place beyond the law. In the light of this, keyboard man cannot be free from the punishment of the law. Actually, our country has already passed laws to regulate the speech on the internet. For example, it is clearly placed on Article 42 of the Public Security and Administration Penal Code that the ones who insult others will be under detention for up to 10 days. If the circumstances are serious, he should be sentenced to not more than 3 years imprisonment. Therefore, the authorities must work hard to make sure that the law is obeyed. Besides, what can we do? We can't change keyboard man's mind, and it is impossible for us to win the debate with them. What we can do is not to be keyboard man ourselves. My suggestion is calming down and listening. Ultra-fast information updates make us too self-centered and hot-headed. Don't hurry to express your own ideas and deny others. Politeness is not a sign of weakness. I'm fully convinced that listening is one of the noblest virtues. For example, we often see somebody raising money because of cancer on the internet. But keyboard man always say that he's pretending to be ill and just want to sponge money, although they have no evidence. Maybe the patient is in great pain and will die soon, and we are expected to sympathize with him. And the ones who sympathize with him must be gentle and well educated. Also, when you criticize others, think about yourself. We hold this truth to be self-evident that when you point one finger at somebody, you have 4 remaining fingers pointing at yourself. There are many times when we would be willing to criticize others but ignore our own failings. Be strict with yourself and tolerant of others. That's what saints do. Ladies and gentlemen, I have a dream that one day we will be able to talk with each other happily and peacefully about our brotherhood on the internet. I have a dream that one day, even thousands of miles away, our hearts still stick together. I have a dream that one day there will be no hatred and the world will be full of love and kindness. I must be able to have sushi with my friends again at that time. Together, we will make it. Thank you.
接下来有请第4位演讲选手，来自中亚培萃的张真瑞同学。
So, all the students here, and ladies and gentlemen, it's my great honor here to give you my speech. Nice to meet you, and thank you. So, at the beginning of my speech, I want to ask all of you here, have you ever noticed at some period when and how you become inattentive, which means not focused? Let's begin with the media. Well, the IT technologies and internet has got great development in near decades. As an extremely efficient media, the internet provided a good way of spreading information and ideologies. A huge amount of information are coming for us just like surge. We've been pushed by our thirst for knowledge, but it's still too much for us, isn't it? It's a kind of a surrounding. Well, once we know why we will be interested in the internet, then we will have the way to solve the problems one by one. And this will be a great way of solving the problems of your study. From the last 40s to now, the TVs are the most famous medias ever before the improvement of mobile phones, and what's before are newspapers. Do they have something in common? Yes, they do. With the development of the medias, from newspapers to TV to mobile phones, the speed of spreading information and ideologies is increasing, while the audit levels are reducing, which means more and more entertained and useless messages are coming for us, extend in a rapid way. Do they have something different that we may ignore? Yes, they do. Because the media is kind of a hint. The opinions are expressed by them in different ways. Let me show you an example. See, just imagine in your head, if there are two kinds of information appeared in front of you. This one is for literal, and this one is for pictorial. They're all the same information, but which one will you choose? Obviously, not only you, but also I, which is the second one, right? It seems more interesting and understandable. A study shows that our brains are more sensitive about pictures, which means it will take up less course of our hands while we are thinking. So what will it cost? We're bound with laziness, which promotes the numbness and blackness of our souls. We do actually hate thoughts because it will take up too much energy and concentration of us. We are gradually being taken away the ability of thinking. Have you all of you ever noticed it is popular among all age groups to see some short videos, entertainment, while they have spare time? Some apps like Douyin, quite so, they provided a good way to let us relax. But have you ever noticed that? You do feel happy about watching it, and later you're still not happy. Because actually, it's just a kind of elementary amusement. It will only give you a kind of a joy, timely. But actually, you're still unhappy. But that's where goes our energy and concentration. See, if you really want to do something big, you want to surpass yourself, you want to complete a project, can you still get things away and focus on your study? Well, from my own experience, it's really hard. Every time I sit in front of the desk, what's in my hand? I just think about, oh, how can I open that and see some short videos? So, about solutions. When we're facing such a problem, do we have some solutions? Yes. Well, actually, first, we need to think more. What's the primary difference between the human beings and animals? The ability of thinking. Once we think more, we will build a better construction of our own thinking system. This will help you to check, to audit all the information that are coming from you. So, as Karl Marx once said, think everything. And that's where goes our progresses of our own thinking. Second, we need to understand what's the responsibility that we're going to take. All of you here are bound with responsibilities, right? Have you realized that? Maybe majority of us haven't realized that the truth. But once we know that, we'll have a great concentration on it. What is it? We are the brand new generation of our entire country, the great hope of our ascending. We are sheltering the great rejuvenation of our country. We haven't realized that where goes the rejuvenation of our country? From watching these short videos? See, if you understand that, then where goes your spare times to think about this? You're really going to take responsibilities? Actually, for me, I don't regret shouldering such hard responsibilities. I consider it as a kind of honor. An honor to make me progress, not only me, but also my country. And so, confidence. You need to set some small goals that can be achieved with little effort. But little efforts are quite important. Why? Because as an old saying goes, the confidence is the foundation of the success. If you have confidence, you realize that you are able to complete all these things. You are able to change yourself, to give a revolution to your inner body. And last but not least, persistence. As an old topic, so many years pass and so many people die. How many people just fail because they can't hold their persistence? But let me show you in another perspective. Give you my own story. Just a year ago today, I got an iPad Pro. Yes, you wouldn't understand my happiness, would you? But everything began with a happy beginning. It was beneficial to my study at first. But just a couple months later, during the pandemic, we used the pad to doing our online process. And it's surely hard, because I found that I totally can't control myself. Every time I sit in front of the desk, just like what I've said before, I always thinking of how I can get some amusement, which caused the degrading of my study. So I just give it to my mom. And just imagine in your head, if you have such experience, how can you understand the separation between my iPad Pro and me? Just feelings, the emotions. It's really surely hard. At that time, I felt days so dark and I don't know what to do. But once I was thinking about it, I found that I was selfish, degrading and irresponsible. I don't even know what to do. Then where comes the responsibility, the persistence and thinking? Well, the difference after a year, you can see now how outgoing and happy I am now, right? But this is kind of success of being my change. And after this change, I'm thinking back to all these memories back. They're really kind of good memories. The good memories of my growings, the personal childhood. You will not be regret if you really do so, and you'll be proud of it. So, in summary, your persistence, your thinking, and your responsibilities of the realization. Also keep these entertainment things away from you, your sides, are the keys to open a victory box. It seems that the question at first, when and how you become inattentive, have you ever realized that it's not important anymore? Just focus on now. And this is the beginning. Have you decided what to do? Have you made your own choices? Have you know what to do now? Ask this question to myself and to you. I do believe we made it. Thank you.
我们有请原创演讲高中组最后一位决赛选手，来自长沙雅里培翠中学的张艺涵同学。
Excuse me, before I start my speech, can I say something to you guys? I just want to say thank you for staying here and listening to my speech. Thank you. And outside it's getting colder, so don't forget to wear your coat. So, I started now? Okay. Hey, do you want to hear an amazing story? Don't you? It's about a really special hospital. You may ask how we can use special to describe a hospital. You must be wrong. But actually, I want to say today, the special hospital saved China, even saved the whole world. I think you guys will know that in December 2019, the novel coronavirus was found in Wuhan. And it was like the world's most terrifying monster was suddenly landing on Earth. Thousands of patients kept coming in, but the spread of the virus never stopped. In cities like Wuhan that have a large number of infected people, more hospital beds were needed. So, the quickest way to solve this problem is to build a makeshift hospital. Then, the leaders in China make emergency order. It says,
in 10 days, a life-saving hospital with a capacity of 1,000 beds will be built.
Then, on January 23rd, 2020, more than 4,000 workers worked 24/7 in 2 sheds, and nearly 1,000 pieces of large utilities and transport workers helped with this project. Thus, in the next 10 days, China accomplished this impossible task. It has changed the way that the world saw China, and it also let the world know what China's bit is. Some people might say, I don't believe what you are talking about. You must be telling lies, because no one will make this impossible task in the world. But actually, China did. I was thought about, why will say like that? I think they never know unless they work in our shoes. Before you build a hospital, you need to have all the proper things ready, such as the design drawings, lots of machinery, and all available resources which we can use. So now, let me introduce to you how to build a special hospital in 10 days. First, you need to complete the floor plan within 5 hours, finish all the design drawings within 24 hours, and submit all the constructions in 60 hours. Then, you need to complete the construction of 50,000 square meters of hospital pyramids within 2 days. Next, you need to invest a lot of money and all the available resources into the hospital. Finally, you should put all the forces together. Day by day, the Chinese people created a miracle in the world with their own hands. So the so-called special hospital, relying on the strength of Chinese people, Chinese spirit, and Chinese bread, was successfully built in 10 days. Some foreigners says, "That's amazing! I hope this will help the disease get controlled. Those who work on this hospital and those who will work in it, heroes all. Praise for the safety to them, and wish they could get the patients make feel well." People from the UK said, only China could build one hospital with 1,000 beds in 7 days. It will take UK 7 years just to decide on it if we are going to build a hospital or not. People from Australia said, Chinese are always incredible builders. In Australia, the government will take 25 years just to decide on it, and then spend another 20 years to build it at 50 times the cost, and end up with a quarter of the project. China always amazes me with their reserve and determination in nation building. Just as Huang Yanzhou, a famous Chinese leader in this academic, said, China has a record of getting things done fast, even for a monumental project like this. This is really hard for Westerners to imagine, he added. I also agree with our President Xi Jinping's opinions that nothing more than people's safety and health. The epidemic is the devil, so we will let it hide. If Wuhan wins the battle against the virus, Hubei will. If Hubei will win against, the nation will. As a China Daily Recorder noted that, right now, 1.4 billion Chinese people, resourcefully united as one, have devoted themselves to the strictest measure of epidemic prevention and control. It's impossible to believe that when disasters strike, people start stealing and panicking. But in reality, we're more likely to rush to help others than run them over to save ourselves. It's an exercise of medicine and healing. The US psychologist Kaylee Kidwell wrote it. There's no infrastructure threat, but only against race, time, life, and death. Because we are Chinese. Because we know 1 minute sooner hospital is built, 1 minute sooner the lives were saved. There's no impossible things in the world all the time, because the Chinese are breaking the possible things all the time. I don't think this hospital is only special. It is also a miracle in the world. Hospitals are not just hospitals, but the spread of every Chinese. So now, I think you guys know why it's special to describe this hospital. Don't you think I'm telling an amazing story to you? The epidemic is still not over now, so the most important things we should do is to protect ourselves better. Let's fight against the epidemic together and make the world a better place. I still believe that winter will eventually pass and the spring is sure to come. Thanks for listening and have a good day.